Blasting, billowing, bursting forth with the power of 10 billion butterfly sneezes.
I'm Tom Bain, and this is Wine, Money, and Song. If you're interested in wines and wanting to find out the best values, please subscribe. So this episode, we're going to review 5 exceptional wines that I've had in the last month or so. Now, I taste a lot of wines. I drink a lot of wines. But these 5 really stood out for me. And they're all very, very different wines. But I found them to be outstanding examples of wines of their variety and from their appellation. And one or two of them bowled me over. So let's start. The first wine is Ridge Cabernet Sauvignon Estate 2013. Now, the difference between Estate Ridge versus Ridge Montebello is it's actually grown on the Montebello estate, but it's generally lower down on the mountain, and it's usually wines that are not as age-worthy. And the way they treat this wine that's different than Montebello is they don't use nude wood. They use 1-year-old wood. So the wine is easier to drink right up front. And the unusual thing about Ridge, Ridge actually gives you the ingredients in the wine. Now, in California, you're allowed to add water. And I think a lot of California wineries add water. If they have 16.5%, 17% potential alcohol in a wine, and all of a sudden it's finished at 14.5, you know, the hose was out, and they were able to knock it down. Now, I'm not against using wine and water as long as it makes a better wine, you know, as long as it balances out. And this wine, I'm going to read the ingredients. Hand-harvested, sustainability grown grapes, indigenous yeasts, naturally occurring malolactic bacteria. That doesn't sound appetizing. 1.1 water addition, calcium carbonate, egg whites. You're going to have an omelet. Oak from barrel aging, and minimum effective SO2. Now, the egg whites, by the way, are to settle the sediment. They put it on top of the barrel, and they whip the egg whites, and they put it on top, and it floats through the wine, trapping any particles, and traps them to the floor. And then they get rid of the sedimentation, and the egg whites and the sediment go out of the wines. Now, very few other companies actually put ingredients. Now, in France, you're not allowed, I know in Bordeaux, you're not allowed to add water. And with all the hot vintages lately, some of the estates are starting to lobby to change the law and allow water to be added. Now, there's been a few stories floating around that the 2022s, there were some hoses available, and some of the wines evened out their wines and lowered the alcohol levels that way. But eventually the stories will get out, and I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's bad. I think that they should be allowed to add water and also to irrigate when they want to. Right now, they have to get special dispensation to irrigate in Bordeaux. And I think they should change those laws. So back to this wine. This wine is one of the best values of California Cabernet. There's 20% Merlot. 2013 was a great year for Cabernet in California, and it was very early harvest. And as I said, they only used 1-year-old barrels for this. And the harvest began in September, and very early, as I said, and I think I bought this wine for 45 or 50 bucks, and it's sensational. It's a beautiful Cabernet. It's got a few more years on it. It'll let go, but if you want the ridge quality, the Montebello quality, it's very close. Maybe it doesn't have the length, it doesn't have the structure, but it's very, very close and very, very high quality. It's 13.8 alcohol and an outstanding wine. The second wine is a wine from Provence, Bandal, Chateau Prédaux. And it's from the Saint-Cyr-sur-Mer region. It's near Toulon and Marseille, which is right off the Mediterranean Ocean. And it's a beautiful area, beautiful area. And to understand wines of Bandal, especially the red wines, this wine is 95% old vine Mourvedre. And you want to talk about tannins in a wine. This is 2010 vintage. So at the time, it's like 13 years old. The wine still has sizable tannins in this. But there is so much minerality in this wine and deeply rooted fruit in it. And this wine's going to age a long time. But if you want to taste Bandal Rouge, and as I said, 95% Mourvedre, and it's mouth-filling and dark fruits and great length in this wine. Still needs years on it, but tremendous. And if you have a chance, pick up. This is a great estate. The third wine is Domaine Huet Vouvray Claude de Bourg, demi-sec. And what demi-sec means, there's a little residual sugar left in the wine. It doesn't mean it's a sweet wine. It means there's a hint of sweetness to it. And the one thing you find in Vouvray and Domaine Huet is, to me, is the benchmark of Vouvray. And Chenin Blanc is the grape of Vouvray, and there's a spiciness to a good Chenin Blanc. It's almost like baked apple with a little cinnamon in it, that little cinnamon spice. And these wines age incredibly well. And great with Thai food, great with Oriental food. This wine has so much length in it and so much volume in your mouth. And if you ever have a chance, try some of those Vouvrays, estate bottle Vouvrays. Be very careful. There's 5, 6, 7 outstanding producers of Vouvray, and I said Huet is, to me, the benchmark. Originally, I bought this wine about 35 bucks, 40 bucks. And this is a 2017, and this will live a long time. But remember, baked apple, spice, a little quince in it, and great mouthfeel, great roundness. And it's a wine that really has gravitas to it. You really feel it in your mouth, and it's all around your palate. Wine number 4 is Hansel Pinot Noir 2014 Ambassador's Vineyard. Now, what does that all mean? Okay, the Hansel, by the way, was one of the first California wineries that specialized in Pinot Noir. They generally did Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, but what makes the Ambassador's Vineyard very special, it's one of the earliest planted lots of Pinot Noir in California. And it was planted in 1953, and it's called the Ambassador's Vineyard because Hansel was bought by James Zellerbach, who was ambassador. I forget to which country he was, but he loved the countryside, and he bought Hansel in the Mayacamas Ridge area. and they're very volcanic soils. And as I said, it's some of the oldest planted Pinot Noir in California. And it's very small production. There's a few acres of this wine, and it's not made every year. And I don't know how I came across this. It was at an auction. And the wine, when you pour it, it's not very extracted, not highly colored. I wouldn't say it's translucent, but it's a plummy, lighter color. It's not densely colored. But the wine in the palate is so elegant. And that's something that's very hard to get out of California Pinot Noir. It's very, very hard to get that out of California. And the wine is so elegant, urethral, and just lush on the palate. And the alcohol level, and this is the 2014, so it's approaching its 10th birthday. It's at a perfect drinking range right now, in a very good place. It's so elegant, so silky, and luscious in your mouth. And you don't get that out of California Pinot Noir often. So the price of this, looked it up on Wine Searcher, is $140, but it's a very rare wine. So the last wine, and we're going to taste it, and it's a wine that I had mentioned before, but it's a new vintage. It's Katina Malbec, and it's the Consola Vineyard. And to understand Katina to me is a great pioneer in Argentina. They really saw the way on planting high altitude vineyards in Argentina. And Nicholas Katina was an economist, and he had the vision. He had the vision to see that you're going to make much better wines higher up in altitude and keep the alcohols down and have the acidities at a proper rate by planting higher up. And I had a feeling that Malbec, once I started trying Malbecs from Argentina 15, 20 years ago, that was going to be a big hit with American palates. And I remember that Pinot Noir, people were talking about Pinot Noir, but Merlot at one time was a hot varietal. Everyone was drinking Merlot. And, people were drinking Chardonnay, Cabernet, and then all of a sudden, Merlot was hot. And then Merlot fell off the seat. I felt that Malbec was the next grape because it's not as tannic as Cabernet, and it's medium-bodied, has red fruits. And I thought this was going to be a big market for Argentina to come in with Malbec. And it's just never been marketed correctly. And a lot of the Malbecs are delicious. We're going to taste this wine now. The color is red fruited. It's dark red, but I wouldn't say black fruit. I would say red fruits. Boy, that nose jumps out of the glass. Jumps out of the glass. And it smells so fresh that it reminds me when I'm at the wineries and trying the wine, you smell the wines all the time in the air because they're evaporating through the barrels, some of the vapors. This wine has so much fruit in the nose. Let's have a sip. Wow. That is chock full of fruit. Ripeness, roundness, succulence. This wine is for $20 a bottle. I would serve this to all of my friends blind, and they would go over the top for it. The fruit is so rich, round, raspberry-ish, and lush without being heavy, and the tannins are ripe and soft. And that's what differentiates this wine, that you could be drinking this wine at 4 years old and it's so lush already, but it's so well balanced. It's so delicious in the palate. And if I was you, I'd be running out and backing up the truck, and I'd be loading it up with Katina Malbec Consola 2020. And one more sip. Wow. Ooh la la.